The Saga of Ragnar Lothbrok, Chapter 9. There was a king called Eystein who ruled over Svitjof. He was married and had one daughter. She was called Ingebjorg. She was the prettiest of all women and beautiful to behold. King Eystein was powerful and had many followers. He was ill-tempered, though wise. He had settled himself at Uppsala. He was a great sponsor of sacrifices, and there were so many sacrifices at Uppsala at the time that nowhere in the Northlands were there more. They had great faith in one cow, and they called her Sibylla. She had been sacrificed so much that men could not stand before her bellowing. The king was wont, when an overwhelming army was expected, to send this cow in front of the host. Such great devilish power filled her that all of his foes became so maddened as soon as they heard her that they fought among themselves and cared not for their own safety. Because of this, Svitjof was unharried by assaults, for men dared not contend against such power. King Eystein had friendship with many men and chieftains, and it is said that at that time there was a great friendship between the kings Eystein and Ragnar. And this was their custom, that they should, alternating each summer, prepare a feast for the other. Then it came about that Ragnar was to go to a feast at King Eystein's, and when he came to Uppsala there was a good welcome for him and his men. And the king had his daughter fill the cups for himself and Ragnar. And Ragnar's men said amongst themselves that it would not be otherwise than that he would ask for King Eystein's daughter, if only he no longer was married to the poor man's daughter. And then it happened that one of his men brought this to his attention, and thus in the end it happened that the princess was promised to the king, but she would stay as his betrothed for a long time. And then their feast was ended. Ragnar journeyed homeward, and it went well for him, but nothing is said of his journey before he came a short distance from his fortress, and his path lay before a wood. They came to a clearing in the forest. Then Ragnar brought his troops to a halt and asked for their silence, and told all of his men who had been with him on his journey that they should say nothing of his intent to enter into marriage with King Eystein's daughter. Then he laid so strict a penalty on this that whoever spoke of that would receive nothing less than loss of life. And when he had spoken what he wanted, he went home to the town. And then it happened that men rejoiced when he came back, and there was drinking and a joyous banquet in his honor. And then he came to the high seat. He had not been sitting there long when Kraka came into the hall before Ragnar and sat on his knee and laid her arms about his neck and asked, "What are your tidings?" But he said he knew nothing to tell her. And when the evening came, men took to drinking, and afterwards men went to sleep. And when Ragnar and Kraka came to the same bed, she asked him yet again for tidings, and he said he did not know any. Then she wished to converse more, but he said he was very sleepy and weary from traveling. "Now I can tell you tidings," she said, "if you will not listen or tell them to me." And he asked what they might be. "I call it tidings," she said, "if a woman is promised to a king, although some men say he already has another." "Who told you this?" said Ragnar. "Your men will keep their lives and limbs, since none of these men told this to me," she said. "You remember how 3 birds sat in a tree near you? They told me these tidings. I ask this of you, that you not stay fixed on this course of action as you intended. Now I should tell you that I am the daughter of a king and not a poor man, and my father was such a great man that none have proved themselves his equal, and my mother was the most beautiful of all women and the wisest. Her name shall be lifted up as long as the world is standing." Then he asked who her father was, if she was not the daughter of the poor man who lived in Spengerheith. She said she was the daughter of Sigurd Faftisbana and Brynhild Buthlafdodar. "It seems to me very unlikely that their daughter would be called Kraka, and their child might wind up in such poverty as there was at Spengerheith." She answered thus, "This is the story." And then she spoke and brought forth the tale of Sigurd and Brynhild meeting on the mountain, and how she was begotten. "And when Brynhild was delivered, a name was given me, and I was called Aslog." And then she spoke of everything that had happened until she met the poor man. Then Ragnar answered, "I am surprised by these mad ramblings about Aslog which you speak." She answered, "You know that I am with child. It will be a male child that I have, and this mark will be on the boy, that it will seem that a snake lies in the boy's eyes. And if this comes about, I ask this, that you do not go to Svitjof at the time that you would receive the daughter of King Eystein. But if this fails to come about, go if you want. But I want the boy to be called after my father, if in his eyes that mark is glory, as I think there will be." Then it came to the time when she knew herself to be in labor, and she delivered a boy child. Then the serving woman took the boy and sprinkled him with water. Then she said that they should bear him to Ragnar and let him see him. And then this was done, and thus the young man was borne unto the hall and laid on the lap of Ragnar's cloak. And when he saw the boy, he was asked what he shall be called. He spoke a verse. Sigurd will the boy be called. He will thus conduct himself in battle, much like the father of his mother, after whom he was called. Thus will be the greatest of Odin's race be named, the snake-eyed one, and he will bring much death. Then he pulled a ring off his hand and gave it to the boy as a nefnaster. But as he reached forth his hand with the gold, it touched the back of the boy, and Ragnar deemed that to mean that he would hate gold. And then he spoke this verse. He will be pleasing to heroes, the dear son of Brunhild's daughter, who has gleaming browstones and a most faithful heart. Thus the sword's messenger bears himself better than all Vikings, Buthli's descendant, who quickly disdains the red rings. And again he spoke. I have never seen bridles in the browstones, or the beard slopes of the brow, save in Sigurd alone. This vigorous beast-chaser, thus by this sign is he known. Then Ragnar said they should bear the boy out of the bower, and that was the end of his going to Svitjoth. And then the family line of Aslog came out, and every man knew that she was the daughter of Sigurd Fafnisbana and Brunhild Buthlustadottir. And thus ends chapter 9.